This video is brought to you by Manscaped.com, the global men's lifestyle brand that is revolutionizing the landscape of men's grooming. Now, if you've spent more than 5 minutes online, chances are you've seen plenty of accusations of games and other media going woke. But back in 2012, the issue of diversity in media was just starting to become a talking point. Enter the Arkh project, a now infamous Tumblr RPG produced by a racist developer known as Riley. The project was uploaded to Indiegogo in 2012, but today it's known as one of the site's biggest scams for taking thousands of dollars from its donators and providing very little in return. The game's main draw was that it was marketed as a linear JRPG designed to break the trope of LGBT individuals and people of color being used simply as token characters in other games. Instead, Arkh would feature these characters front and center as main protagonists. Essentially, the devs were riding on the game's inclusion of characters from different ethnic backgrounds to drive interest. Surprisingly, despite being little more than a thinly veiled attempt at virtue signaling, the game not only began to gain backers, but also garnered a lot of praise for its inclusivity from media outlets such as Kotaku. The story centered around a deity who would reincarnate and live many different lives while having to watch their god energy. Whatever that means. As we'll see in a minute, it's unlikely that Riley even knew themselves. The gameplay seemed to involve fighting monsters and using herbs to create potions. Generally though, the descriptions of the game did seem a little hazy, and on top of this, Riley struggled to provide little more than basic details about the narrative and gameplay of the project. Riley was also being assisted by Rose Gold Games, previously known as Kino Games, a company led by Kia, a black queer woman, and Erin, a Japanese woman. The pair supposedly had extensive experience with both writing and developing 2D games, but looking at their now defunct Rose Gold Games YouTube channel, we can see some of their experience.
Fuck.
Suspicions would only mount from here. Donators and critics alike were only beginning to see the tip of the iceberg. But before we dive deeper into that, first I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Manscaped.com. Recently, Manscaped were kind enough to send me out the Evergreen Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, and honestly, I'm blown away at how good all of the items are. First and foremost, you've got the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra with upgraded trimmer blades with their next-gen skin-safe blade heads, as well as the easily interchangeable foil blade designed to swoop in and leave you with a sleek, bare surface. I didn't have a single nick or cut on my scrotum while using this bad boy, and I've come to think of it as the deep sea challenger of the electric razor world for a few reasons. First, the lack of cuts made me confident enough to venture past the balls down to the perineum, the Mariana Trench of the body. Secondly, it features a bigger LED light to reach those deep, dark crevices. Oh, and it's even waterproof. The Performance Package 5.0 Ultra Kit also includes the Weed Whacker 2.0 for pesky ear and nose hair, featuring the same waterproofness and skin-safe technology as the Lawnmower. And last but not least, we also have the Crop Soother Aftershave and Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, perfect for that post-shave care. Oh, what's that, Did you really think that was it? When you purchase the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, you also get 2 free gifts. The Boxers 2.0 featuring the Jewel Pouch and the Shed 2.0. Think of it as a sacred sheath to house all of your grooming gear. So head over to manscaped.com and get your hands on the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra today. When you use my promo code on screen now, you'll get 20% off plus free international shipping plus the 2 free gifts. But back to the video. Let's talk about some of the most suspicious elements of the campaign. As mentioned, Riley would avoid discussing major plot details or gameplay mechanics. The campaign essentially boiled down to a general idea, along with a handful of basic character concept art showcasing the two main characters in various art styles. Riley expanded further on these character concepts, adding that the game would feature non-conventionally attractive characters like black people, masculine Asian characters, trans women, disabled people, and fat people. Non-conventionally attractive black characters. Careful now, Riley. Careful. All of this blathering about identity politics and lack of real substance like developer interviews, trailers, or even just general concept art had put Riley and the team under scrutiny of a growing crowd of people accusing the project of being a scam. And this wasn't helped by the fact that Indiegogo's policy allowed creators to receive any money donated, even if the funding goal hadn't been reached. This fueled the notion that they had specifically chosen Indiegogo to scoop up as much money as possible and run. But Riley would use their quick thinking and maxed out speech skills to shoot down these accusations, reasoning that illness scams often cost just as much to run and were more successful. So if they wanted to scam, they could just do that instead. How do you know that information, Riley? That's not really something the average person knows. Want to know more about gameplay, engine, and the like? Check here. However, actually clicking this would lead to the FAQ page with a small section that claimed more detailed, finalized information will be available on the wiki in progress.
Fuck.
And for all of this axolotl shit nothingness, Riley and the team were asking for a whopping $100,000. Well, to be fair, they were asking for $3,900 for this specific campaign, which would just be funding the production of character concept art. But they were planning to run future campaigns for each stage of the development process. The breakdown of the $100K budget was as followed. $3,900 for character concepts, that's the campaign we have here, $8,200 for environmental concepts, $5,000 for monster concepts, $10,000 for 25 additional monster concepts. I'm not really sure why these are separated. $40,000 for programming, $6,900 for 3D character models, $12,000 for animation, $2,000 for UI design, $16,000 for environmental design, and $8,000 for item design. Miraculously, by what I can only assume is some form of cruel divine intervention, they actually managed to raise $6,525, over 150% that of the original goal. So, what happened next? Riley just took the money and ran, never to be seen again? Well, not quite. To understand more, first we need to take a closer look at Riley. To preface, Riley's actual name and lore is a bit confusing. Their full name can be found on their site, along with a few mentions on Tumblr. The strange part is, in the context of their full name, they're referred to as Arden Ripley, not Arden Riley. Now, it's all a bit confusing, but to sum it up, this name seems to be simply a fabricated alias. But don't worry about that for now, just ignore it, we'll get onto it in a sec. For now, to keep things simple, I'm just going to continue to refer to them as Riley. Despite Riley's seemingly virtuous deeds to bring more representation to the video game industry, they themselves have become notorious for being a huge racist, having made a series of shocking comments online about practically every race under the sun, including black people, despite the fact they themselves are black. According to Riley, black women would have to earn their respect by proving they're not oppressors. In Riley's eyes though, she hated black men the most, claiming that they would rather include white characters in their game over black men, justifying this rhetoric by claiming it was all okay because they themselves are black. But their slew of online racism would extend to other cultures too. They called one native woman a cracker and told another to pass the white dick. There's also this screenshot here, which for obvious reasons I don't want to read, but take a look for yourself. They even had blogs like Cracker Hell and Dumb Things White People Say. They referred to Chinese people as garbage and criticized Japanese people for mocking and stealing from black culture. This was particularly strange, as in a recount from Lil Miss Vampire Trash, she claimed she had a real-life meetup with Riley, where they claimed they don't know their racial background, so might be part East Asian anyway, adding that people of colour can't culturally appropriate anyway, so it's fine. It's hard to find any recounts online of experiences with Riley without them being referred to as manipulative, sociopathic, and a general racist. They even doxed a 17-year-old girl simply for calling them out on their abusive behaviour. As promised, to shed some light on Riley's fishiness, let's address Riley's many online aliases. Prior to going by Riley, they went by QBishinobi, a username that links them to posts about their supposed real name. Screenshots of them singing karaoke at an anime convention refers to them as their previous QBishinobi username, alongside the inclusion of their supposed real name, Nikki H. This is also backed up by various other Tumblr users verifying that this is in fact them. To me, the use of many different aliases and seeming desire to remain anonymous is likely due to the fact that Riley is well aware of the stigma surrounding them and doesn't want to have their identity attributed to all their racist comments. So now that we know a bit more about Riley, let's return back to the Indiegogo campaign and see what happens next. As a result of this widespread discovery of Riley's true colours, the number of critics grew, with people scorning the project both for its lack of substance as well as Riley's awful nature and blatant virtue signalling. As I teased before, Riley and their team didn't just abandon the project. No, that would be too merciful, putting them out of their misery so quickly, thought Riley, presumably, and would instead slowly fizzle the campaign out over time. Despite this, Riley would put out a surprisingly decent amount of concept art in the following months, and on the 6th of July even broke down a full detailing of Arkh's funding, showcasing where the money had went. Now, it's not known for sure, but it is speculated that Riley just pocketed the rest of the money not accounted for here. My favourite part of all the post-campaign updates was this 1 second run animation which they released on Tumblr. Back then, Tumblr wouldn't actually loop GIFs, so this was basically impossible to actually view. This would also be the first and last 3D animation from the game. Updates went strong initially with around 20 posts a month, but by early 2013 this had fallen to a disquieting 3 to 4 posts a month. In September of 2013, nearly a whole 2 years after the campaign, Riley dropped back in to say, "Don't worry guys, the project is still underway. We're just busy balancing schoolwork and full-time jobs. Tee-hee-hee." But by August of 2014, almost 3 years had passed, and most backers reached the acceptance phase of grief by finally accepting the whole campaign was pretty much dead in the water. But you're all wrong, you see, said Riley. Arkh was never made into a game because it was never meant to be a game, just an exercise in character development and concept art. Following on from this, much like the updates about the campaign, Riley's online presence would start to wane. 2016, however, must have been the Chinese year of the moron or something, as this was a huge year for Riley, where she would resurface once again with a new pile of slop crowdfunding project called the Resync Project, a very blatant clone of Undertale, asking for 50k in donations. Oh yeah, and this wasn't even on Indiegogo this time. This was on youcaring.com, a platform typically used to crowdfund people's medical bills. Maybe this was the long-awaited illness scam that Riley had been hyping up for about a decade. Initially though, Riley just needed 10k. Not for the full game though, just for a demo. In the wise words of Riley, I need to crowdfund before I can crowdfund. You see that clears it all up. I understand now. You know, you do, carry on, Riley, carry on. Weirdly though, in the same year, Riley had been seen bragging on Tumblr about their supposed lavish lifestyle, encompassing a 6-figure income, loft, pool, and even a jacuzzi. Now, providing this is true, which it probably isn't. Of course, hypothetically, Riley could have used some of this money to help fund their slop, but then they wouldn't be taking the money out of sick people's hands, and, you know, where's the fun in that? I am, of course, joking, and this is all just further proof that Riley is absolutely insane. Also, in 2016, Riley would go on to publish a piece on Medium titled The Scam, or How I Became a Programmer for Reals. Riley defended their actions in this article, claiming that people were expecting a fully fleshed out game with only 3.9k. They ridiculed the notion that people thought they would actually be able to create something like Kingdom Hearts with brown people for such a small amount of money, which is just shut up. After this, Riley finally began to simmer down, and eventually they faded from public attention. So that leads us to where we are today. The project left dead and rotting, while Riley still retains a small, low-profile online presence. According to some posts online, Riley has gone through their redemption arc, as they now no longer seem to hate black people. They do still seem to hate every other race though, but, you know, it's progress, I suppose. Even if the project wasn't originally intended as a scam, the decision to not fulfill promises made to backers and then gaslight them by claiming the project was never intended as a game is just disgusting. I guess the moral of this story is that sometimes people aren't quite what they seem on the surface, and also don't support projects with just a few rough sketches and nothing else. I know this was back in 2012 and people were probably a bit more trusting, but just, okay, come on, they're almost definitely a scam. Well, that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to head over to manscaped.com, grab the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra today, and enjoy 20% off, plus free international shipping, plus 2 free gifts when you use my promo code on screen now. As always, I'll see you guys next time.